So welcome to our, what would this be, the 15th weekly MMX. Hey Ad, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm feeling great, man. This is a wonderful time. Y'all got the energy started. I'm on cloud nine right now.
Good deal, good deal. So I think this is our 15th or so weekly MMX. We started a conference down at Millikan University in 2019. Was that the first one, Molly? Molly is here helping facilitate all the stuff. And obviously we couldn't do the conference in 2020, which brought people to the campus from Nashville and Chicago, St. Louis. So we decided to do a virtual conference, which worked out great. We tripled registrations. We had people from 23 countries come for that. So that was really energized us. And then we just decided to do this every week, sometimes a Wednesday, sometimes a Friday, and start to investigate and educate ourselves about what's going on in the industry. And maybe 8 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, we started to have a focus at educating ourselves about what's going on in the world. We're both in Chicago, Ad, so we're in the middle of a lot of things at the moment.
Yeah, man, you said that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me introduce you to everybody, and then we can start to talk about whatever we want to talk about. So you released, I thought you did your first mixtape in 2005.
It roughly was, yeah, around 2005. Yeah, Tale of Two City back. All right, okay, we go back.
Come on. And there's a bunch of the Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah.
Pray, and then pray.
Yeah, pray for the poor.
Pray for the poor. Okay, yeah. P-R-E-Y. And I like that stuff. Day of Mourning, M-O-U-R, mourning.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been an independent artist for 15 years.
Yeah, I was signed for a little while, but it was under an independent label as well. And so, but for the majority of my career, I've been independent.
Okay, and all kinds of accolades on you. I've seen so many for Jim Crow the Musical, which you released in 2019, which seems to be, on the one hand, it will be, I might say, ahead of its time, predicting the situation we're in now. On the other hand, it might be easy to say you were reacting to a situation that's been part of everything you've done since the beginning anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely felt like that. It felt like it was, on one hand, like you said, ahead of its time. Like I didn't know the storm that was coming up, which was 2020. But at the same time, it really it felt like it was more so a series of a never-ending nightmare that was leading up to this. So,
and it's so just to fill everybody in on how we know each other. I don't know how we know each other. What was
so we started out. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, it might be Paul Natkin. It might be through Paul Natkin, who had suggested us to be like for us to do an event with Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. It was like SAE was doing the SAE or Columbia was doing like a fundraiser, and we were the group that they were going to give the money to, and we had our students come up to perform at the day of the student presentation at Reggie's, and then you came by and then did so I think that's where it started.
Okay, all right. So Paul Natkin, okay, good guy. And so I think I think I asked you to come and perform. The students put on an event at Reggie's. My students at SAE Chicago, where I used to be the department chair, and what I liked about what you did was like, yeah, I'll come and perform. I'll bring my students. I'm like, well, he's bringing his students, okay. But when your time slot came, you did the pass the mic, and it remains one of my favorite things that have happened at events. It was such a high level of performance, and it was great that you gave the stage to your students, the mentees.
Absolutely.
So let me try and finish my introduction. So you're an artist. We met several years ago in your role as an artist and also as a mentor to kids, to students at the Haven.
Yeah.
Which is, if I remember, 47th and King Drive.
Yeah. So technically 46, but we on the 7. We on the 7 too. So.
Okay, and that's a facility where it's literally a haven where students can come and hang and make music. So, and then I think the last other encounter of note, I would say, was when my band Pigface played Thalia Hall at the end of November. And the same thing, I think I was on the road and I emailed you. I'm like, hey, do you want to send some of your mentees over to Dahlia and just jump on stage with Pigface? And honestly, so we had 6 or 7 drummers on stage. Triumphant that day. There's like, everybody is. I mean, Pigface is a wild, diverse, crazy explosion anyway. But to have to connect with yourself and the students at the Haven, and now here we are, in a fucking mess. It seems like. So having said all that, we could talk about your music, your process in the studio, your career path, the beginning of the Haven, the intersection of your art and professional career with the Haven and the students, all of the entities that you work with as a sponsor, with the sponsorship level, or the situation that we now find ourselves, which I can't imagine it getting any worse than it does. So, I mean, honestly, whatever you want to jump into first. I mean,
well, I think the early stages is always like a good place to start to get context about who I am.
Okay.
And then that makes everything else make a lot more sense.
So you had your first release in 2005. What happened before? What were you doing before that? Were you musical in some way?
Yeah, I wanted to be. I used to always rap in high school. I was the freshman guy who was battling seniors in the hallway. I was always freestyling on the lunch tables. I loved music. I loved just how it was like the great equalizer for me, because y'all may not be able to tell this right now, but I'm really short. You meet me in person, you'd be like, wow, bro, you like 5'3", 5'4". So it's like, I've always been like, I kind of had like a Napoleon complex a little bit. Like my neighborhood made me tougher than what I was. And so, but rap was like this great equalizer for me, because with my words, I got all the respect that what I wanted to get from my peers. And it was also, like, I always described it as the therapy that I couldn't afford. Like, it was the way that I was able to voice my opinion, to say, I could write whatever on the page and no one would correct me. And so I loved that. And I didn't take it serious at first. Like, I liked it. I knew I was good at it, but I didn't think there was a career in it. I kind of used to laugh at rappers who thought that they were going to make a career out of rap. I was like, you get like 4 years and then you're done. But then it was like, yo, there's no health benefits in rap. There's no dental plan in rap. Like, it really felt kind of beneath me at certain points. And but I loved it. And so by the time I got into college, I realized that was the thing I wanted to do. And I wanted to drop out, but my mom said, nah, I took out this loan, so you're gonna stay your ass in college. And so I did. And I told her after I graduated, I handed her my diploma. I said, that's yours. And I was like, now I want to do the thing that makes me happy. And my dad, you know, he was always like really gung-ho about me pursuing my dreams, because he used to want to be a musician back in the day. He was a wannabe background singer. He ain't sing for nobody but himself, but he wanted to sing. And I felt like I watched him say, like, man, be what you want to be, because this life is a long life that you have to live if you have to live it for somebody else. Like, it's a very arduous task if you try to turn around and be like, every day I got to wake up and work for somebody else's dream. So I jumped out the window, you know what I'm saying, with no parachute on, and said, let me see how this works. And then I released a mixtape, and, you know, it just started to take off out of nowhere.
And so, so what came after that?
So after that, I started to really play the mixtape game. Like, so, and for those people who may not be aware, hip hop in the late 90s, early 2000s, we were really big on mixtapes. And the way we released mixtapes were either you would press them up, and they weren't really necessarily like, sometimes they were freestyles, sometimes they were over other people's beats, sometimes they were original songs, and they slowly started to progress into just being free albums that we gave people. And we were like some of the first groups of people who were pioneering the blogs and the hip hop websites. So I remember early on in my career in Chicago, they were like, man, don't nobody want to put no songs on the internet. And it was a real strange way to say, like, man, I just got posted on this website and it's a big deal. And they were like, nah, it's not, because you're not in the streets. If it's not in the streets, it doesn't exist. But I was really adamant about saying, like, I'm not making music just for my neighborhood anymore. Like, a fan is a fan. It doesn't matter where they're from. And I'm watching other people have full-on careers touring. And also, I'm a student of the game first. So I look at history, and history showed me that a lot of the rappers who were in that same vein that I'm in, they weren't appreciated in their hometowns, one. Two, they really didn't get respect until they left. So it made me realize I'm not playing that type of game. I need to play a whole field as opposed to just these first 5 yards in front of my face. So, and that's what I did. I just started getting placements on all the, like, I guess the premier hip hop websites. So like Hip Hop Game, allhiphop.com, Hip Hop DX. I managed to somehow become a writer for Hip Hop DX, and I didn't have no background doing anything. And so, like, I was writing for Hip Hop DX. I believe another one, Two Dope Boys, OK Player, all of these websites that were out of reach at first to us, they became like the sites that put me forward. And since I was one of the few people from Chicago who was pursuing it, that's kind of how it kicked off.
So did you get out on the road? What was the next phase of this? Because your early work was pretty well received, right?
Yeah, I was always kind of like this critically acclaimed guy who was never really got all the mainstream attention, but was always putting out quality work. So, you know, it was almost like a cult following type of thing, where the people would be like, yo, if you know about Add-2, then you must really be in tune with music in this other way. And it was cool, but of course, there's a ceiling that you kind of start to realize. And so we wanted to start to hit the road. We wouldn't have tours. We'd have a string of dates that would be lined up together that we would market as a tour that wasn't really a tour. It'd be like 5 dates, and we'll hit some open mics in between and pretend like they were dates. But you know, that is because the internet was still a fairly new place, and so it's really interesting when you try to like figure out your way to navigate this new scene that people haven't really became successful at.
So, when's your Pray for the Poor is 2015.
Yeah.
Am I fast forwarding too much?
Oh, well, because there's a lot of stuff that happened in between there.
Right.
Okay, so something really pivotal happened. I had performed on stage with the Roots, and I forgot what year that was. That was before that. That may have been 2012-ish. And that's how I knew I was like, I'm getting somewhere. Like all this stuff is starting to pay off. My name is in different discussions at this point. And a little bit further after that is when I met Common. And that was what really just pushed everything just everywhere it needed to go. And I remember for a while, like he mentored me. So he would take me to different spaces where they were doing events. They would also do like little give backs and stuff like that, just impromptu give backs too. Like it wouldn't even be anything super formal. Like he'll be in the truck and we'll just drive out to the west side and be in the middle of nowhere. And then we'll just get out and start like handing out food. And I was just like, what is going on? We were just supposed to be playing basketball. And, but he kind of was like this example for me to know how you use your platform, to how do you make a successful career beyond just your music, like a brand, and then also just what level of fame do you want? Because a lot of people don't really think about those things. They just see that one size fits all dream of an artist's career, and everybody wants that. They're like, okay, I'm gonna put out an album, it's gonna sell a lot, I'll be on the radio, I'll tour, I'll live off this music forever. And then nobody really studies how people leave this game, or how many tragic stories of people not reading contracts or fully understanding what they want in line with their personality. And so I started really looking at that. I was like, all right, what do I want? What's my comfort level? What's success to me? What is happiness to me? How can I sleep at night and be okay with my accomplishments? And I learned from him, because he used to tell me, I would watch him take flights from LA to New York, then have to take another flight to someplace else, be like doing all these different press runs at the same time. And I asked him one night, I said, how do you do this? I just watched you go from 4 different TV shows and you just traveled here on a plane. Like, how do you do this? And he said, this is the life that I asked for. I can't complain now that I got it. Mm-hmm. And so I start asking myself, what is the life that I want to ask for? And once I get it, how can I just be happy? So that was a really pivotal decision.
Wow. So, I know some of my students are in on this today, and some of my students, their assignment this week is to read part of one of my books, which talks about success. What is it? For me, it wasn't a house in LA with a swimming pool and a hit single. Being on the front cover, I had to go through it to go, this is crap. I hate this shit, you know. And so it's the first week of classes down at Millikan. I'm like, all right, before we do anything else, sit and think about what success might be for you, because it's different for everybody.
Absolutely, it truly is, man. And sometimes when you get to the other side, I always describe the music industry as the Wizard of Oz. Like, you get there and then you find out it's actually not what you thought it was. All the big parties that you think is like, it's fun for a little while when you first see it. But after a while, it's like, I've been here, done that. Okay, that's cool. And then some of the people that you thought was like super glamorized, and you see them for what they are, and you're like, do I really like this here? And so, and then also the unfortunate side is that it changes so many of your everyday relationships that mean a lot to you. Man, there was so much that I missed out on because family members thought I was too busy. Like my cousins wouldn't invite me to life events because they just assumed that I didn't have time for it. They were like, I'd be like, man, you graduated this weekend? And they'd be like, yeah, I would have told you, but I just assumed you were busy. You would probably be in the studio or you'd probably be on the road. And I'm like, nah, I'm here. I'm eating Captain Crunch. I'm chilling, you know? And so it really makes you wonder, like, what, like really to define that, because if you don't and you don't set boundaries, this music industry will take you on a ride that you are not prepared for. So you gotta set your boundaries and say, like, this opportunity, it may be a big one, but it's not make or break. Like, there's been very few times when I've been in situations that was make or break to the point where if I didn't do it, my entire career was over. Like, I always had a chance to, you know, steer the car right back into the direction that I needed it to.
Right. But you're right. It's you described the music business as a Wizard of Oz. I mean, it's a really scary place. If your eyes aren't open, there are people. There's almost like another music business that isn't the music business. It's the it's the ride to Disneyland nightmare, where you actually don't get to Disneyland.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, but you'll pay the price and you'll spend the time on the bus, and there are people who will take you on that journey, and it's just a level of the people you see doing that. It's tough, and I've spoken with people who are being taken on that ride. You know, and I'm like, yeah, but the person who's telling you you should spend 10 more days in the studio is the person who's going to bill you $2,000 a day per day for being in the studio. Yep. And so he might not be giving you the right advice. And they don't, but they said my vocals are like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a very key example of lifestyle, right? That they push to people. It's like, man, live in the studio. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, I need to, when I'm there, I need to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it work for me. Like, why do I need this, you know what I'm saying, this really, really, really expensive studio for us to sit in and play music over and over and over again, and we don't have anything to record, and we're just hoping that inspiration hits us at that moment. And sometimes you get it, but most times it's a lot of money being wasted.
Right. And nobody from the studio is going to turn around and say, hey, you know what? You go away for a couple of weeks, let these ideas come into focus, go and sit in your basement, getting your ideas into focus, come back. They're going to sit there and let you work through it.
Yep. They won't say a word. They won't tell you. There's no courtesy calls when you're late. There's no like, hey, you know, this is probably better for you. I'm not going to keep charging you to mix this same record over and over again. They're going to be like, show money.
Yeah. So. It's like Las Vegas in the casino. There's no clocks in the casino.
No windows. Yep.
So okay. So that's super cool that Common was a mentor to you, and I've got to say, you know, your actions as a mentor to your students are inspirational to me. You know, as I go about my life. So it's nice that this is all bouncing along. So what happens next before Pray for the Poor?
So I signed to an independent label called Jamla Records, and it's with Ninth Wonder. He's a Grammy Award winning producer, and at the time I was looking for something to do. I was was waiting for the situation with Common to kind of like manifest into something bigger. They had just left Good Music and they were starting this other thing. And I wasn't too sure if I wanted to be on a major label like that. And so, but I was waiting for something else to happen. And I went down to North Carolina, recorded some records with my friend Crisis, who's a part of Jamla. And then Knife Wonder was like, hey, well, you know, you've been a friend of ours for a long time. How about we just make this whole thing official? Like, you could sign to the label, we could do it 50-50. And so it was really good at first. Like, it was really, really good. Like, it was probably the most comfortable I felt in a label type of situation. I still had my creative control. It just kind of, there was a process that started to develop. And I have a better understanding about it now than I did when I was younger. Like, a label has to be lucrative. A label can't afford to just release music. And even though for me, my schedule was different, my livelihood that I built was different than maybe some of the other artists, but you have to understand where all of it plays in, you know? So after we released Between Heaven and Hell, and then we released Pray for the Poor, I started seeing that they were really, really, really focused on trying to make sure that they were in the green, you know, like, and as you should, you know, but that meant a lot of artists had to really sit back and they had to focus on pushing one artist. And so for me, I was like, well, this doesn't really work for me. And I was seeing there was tension coming up. And once I started seeing that things were going for different people a certain way, I was like, again, that thing in my mind, this foresight always clicks. And it says, how is this going to look 5 years from now? How is this going to look 10 years from now? And I was like, you got to jump. You got to leave. Leave now. Thank God you didn't sign an extended contract that held you there for a certain amount of years. It was like you could leave whenever you want to. And I felt like our relationships were as good as it could be at the moment. And if we kept going on, it would have got worse. Okay. So foresight was like, yo, it's time to go. And at first there was some tension, but at the same time, I felt like it was the best move for me, especially when I look at what happened after that. Like, everybody else on the label, I got much love for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, our relationships are still the same. I still have respect for like every artist there. But I knew that wasn't the best home for me. And sometimes you really have to look at what's around you and who you are and the label. And I see Pam said, always trust your intuition. That is 100% correct, because it will tell you, I should not be in this room. Yeah. And you could sit back and be like, you'll blame yourself later and be like, dang, I should have listened to that feeling. So instead, it's like, when I see it and I know it, I just got to have the courage to walk forward. And there was some moments of doubt and depression that came afterwards, because it was like, well, your whole identity was built off this.
Right.
What am I going to do now that I'm not, you know, the rapper, a part of we were like the hip hop saviors at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was like the picture perfect example. And it's like, so you're not there anymore. You were doing things on your own and it was good, but you got to a point where it was too big. It was like, you can't do all this by yourself anymore. That's what I kept feeling like. And I had a moment with my wife. I sat down with her and I was like, do you still believe in me? And she said, yeah. And I said, do you think like my better days are like behind me or ahead of me? And she was like, I still think you got some good days ahead of you. And that's when I kind of like, the gear shifted again. And it said, do the thing that you've always wanted to do. It's always here embedded in you. The same way you got yourself here, your second act isn't over just because, you know, it doesn't look like how it looked before. And man, the second act was way better than the first. So.
That conversation with your wife could have gone so many different ways.
Yeah.
You're very lucky.
Because she could have said, Yeah, nah, I don't believe you, fam. Like you're your own, you know. But the fact that because you have to have people around you who are a mirror to reflect that real version of you. So even when you don't see it, like when it looks like one of those house of mirrors and you look distorted in your eyes, somebody else could say, no, I know the real you. I know what you're capable of. I know what you're doing right now may not seem like it's where you want it to be, but be patient and ride this thing out and watch. And because it's all temporary. Like if you look at everything, nothing good lasts forever, nothing bad lasts forever. So you have to be able to the waves. You gotta say just ride it out. And
Yeah.
sure enough, that's what happened. It was like the next idea that hit me was to start Haven Studios. And that did more for me in as far as my happiness, as far as my music goes, as far as just notoriety. Like everything that I wanted to do happened after that.
So it's interesting, isn't it? After you we're holding on to this thing so fucking tightly, it's when you actually let it go and go, all right, and then you help somebody else or you do something else. It's like stuff happens.
Everything like that was, and sometimes it goes to say that the route we choose to success isn't the one that's going to get us there. Right. It may not be the stereotypical one. So for me, it was like taking everything that made me me. Like I loved mentoring. I loved, helping the youth out. Every job that I've had. Matter of fact, the only jobs I was able to get have always been camp counselor, tutor. I worked at a daycare for like 3 years. Like it was always working with kids, and I always was naturally good at it. And so, and the thing that saved my life early on when I was 17, 18, 16, getting into trouble, all my friends gang banging, I'm up here trying to just stay along with them. So I'm doing the same stuff they doing, carrying the same stuff they carrying. And one of my friends, he brought us to this guy named Mikael, and this guy had a storefront with a couch, a computer, and a microphone. And he told us we could come in anytime we wanted to and record on 63rd and like Rockwell. And we were there every day. And I loved it. I was there every day. I didn't have time to get in trouble because I was too busy, like just being, you know what I'm saying? Like in the studio. And so I wanted to do the same thing for somebody else. I always said, if I have the resources to, I never wanted to wait until like those artists be like, man, wait till I get famous and then I'm gonna do this. I was like, yo, let's do this now. And so I partnered up with my friend Chad of Guitars Over Guns. And I was like, man, I love mentoring. I love what we're doing, where we're able to come in for like 1-2 days of the week. But I was like, it's not enough. We need a place that people can go to, because a lot of times we don't have the resources to pursue the dreams that we want to. We have the desire, but we don't have the resources, which kills the desire. This gets discouraging. So I was like, well, what happens if you just give them the resources? What happens if you just put Pro Tools in front of them and say, like, go ahead, make the mistake. It's okay. Destroy the session. Mess it up. It's okay. Let's see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, take that button and turn it all the way up and find out what happens. Like, I wanted to see what that was like if you give the youth the thing that they need to make them feel happy. And sure enough, it took off. It was like at one point I felt like we had half the neighborhood in the studio. I was walk in some days, and it was like trust too. It was the weirdest level of trust I've ever done. Like there would be times where I would leave them with all of this expensive equipment, walk clean out, be gone for like 2-3 hours, and come back. And sure enough, everything was always there. You know, like when you give people one, you trust them with the thing that they love. 2, you give them respect to be people. You know, like, yo, I'm not gonna treat you like a criminal because you're not one. You know, like you're a person. And I know that you're gonna hold this place with respect because this is a place that's gonna house your dreams. So you like they guarded, they checking each other, you know. And so I watched that thing grow, and I watched them become a family. I watched them find the friends that they needed, to find the peers that they needed, the community that they needed, the time to be occupied, to stay out of trouble, to have somebody to talk to who's been through certain things, the same things they've been through. Man, we've went through so much together, and that place saved my life, man. Like that was what I was supposed to do. Like, music up until that point was cool, but this was the vocational thing. Like, this is what God sent me here to do. It was like, that's you. Rap is cool, but this is far more important. And everything happened because of that. It was like the invitation to the Grammy committee happened because of that. Being on TV several times, the Tribeca Film Festival stuff happened because of that. All of it was because of, yo, you rap, but what you're doing for other people, that's amazing. So I can't say that enough. It's like when you do something for somebody else, you know.
So that sounds like, it sounds like the an end part to that would be, and that's why I haven't made an album since, and now this is my path. But Jim Crow the musical,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, I'm not in a position to say that's your best work, but it feels to me.
It is. It is.
It feels to me fucking. I don't know what. Important. Molly says important.
Poignant.
Thank you.
Oh, poignant. Sorry, Molly.
Ooh, I like that word too. I like that one too. That was a nice one.
Is prescient the word for, it's like predicting the future, but also it's of this time. It seems to be of this time, but it also, it's a bunch, so much of it is in my head. So musically, it's got all of those things, a songwriter and arrangement and hooks. But then it's also, what's interesting to me is, you know, all of these comments and ideas are in there. You're true to yourself. You're commenting on everything that's going on before it was during, before, whatever. But it's in these hooky songs that I'm going to keep listening to these messages, and it's kind of subversive then.
Absolutely. It was designed that way. Like, so several things that influence it. One, my method of trying to create has always been to put the medicine in the applesauce. I've never liked those super preachy records. Like, I used to hear like, God, man, they sound like y'all not even trying to be musical at all. So I realized it's music first. Then if you could sneak the message in a way where it's catchy, it's digestible, that is the way that I felt like you can get a greater impact versus I'm only going to preach to the people who understand me. It's like, that's not going to work. And in anything, they already know the message. So it's like, what's the point? So if anything, I wanted it to be like, let me find a way to weave it in where it's about something deeper, and you can get to that level if you choose to dig. But if not, if you're just listening on the surface, you'll get what you need, you know? But whenever you're ready to like really thoroughly dive down to all these different layers and layers and layers, you're like, wow, there's so much, one, wordplay and all this stuff. Two, there's a perspective about what's going on in the world and society that, you know, it's all, like you guys have said, it's been prophetic. Like, there are certain things that I'm like, I know it's about to happen. I know we're at the breaking point of this. So warn people, maybe somebody will hit the brakes in their small circle, and that could prevent this whole massive thing from happening. But we have to somehow, some way tell the stories to reflect what's going on right now. Like, I would hate to go back and if James Brown's record, you know what I'm saying, Black and I'm Proud doesn't exist. You know, I would hate to go back and you know, during like the late 80s and the 90s, and Public Enemy's Fight the Power doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Those things really echo to me, where if they went back and said, man, what was going on in 2019? And all we had was party music, people would be like, that, wait, something ain't quite right. The world was on fire and nobody was talking about it. So that's what I feel like it's our job. I know that's a famous quote that everybody talks about with Nina Simone. And Nina Simone always said it's the artist's job to reflect the time. And I really do take that seriously. So yeah, and the mentees, they were the ones who pushed me to make the album. Like they would be on me. I said I wasn't gonna make another album. I was happy. But in a very strange way, one of my mentees unfortunately had passed away. And I don't know if you know this, but one of our pictures that we have of him was when you came in and he did the t-shirt you know, exercise with us. And I remember like that picture hangs up in our studio now. And so, but I remember him always wanting to rap. And my idea was, I was like, well, he's not here. And the only thing he wanted to do was rap. And here you are, alive and well, and you're not rapping because you just choose not to. And I was like, that's selfish. That's ungrateful. That's, you know what I'm saying? I was like, for him and for other people who aren't in the same position to do that, I owe them more than that. And so that's why the album came out.
Well, I remember when I sent you that picture. There's a bunch of things that sometimes cause me to pause for a second, you know. And I remember like, oh, I sent you the picture because, you know, we came down there and made some shirts and which we need to do again. And you're like, oh, thanks for the picture. It's kind of bittersweet. I'm like, oh, it's bittersweet. I want one of the people in the picture is no longer with us, and yeah, I didn't know that story about that's why one of the reasons you ended up making the album.
Yeah.
So now here you are. You've got this album. You've got The Haven. What do you see with the youth that comes in when they make music? I would guess that that's a really interesting window into what's going on with them.
Yeah. Oh man.
What are you seeing?
One thing I've seen is their resilience, man. Like that's one of the most like impressive things I've seen about them, is that they are dealing with so much that we had so much support on, you know. Like there's many of them who are, you know what I'm saying, self-medicating through their problems. There's so many of them who are dealing with all of society's ills at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like so much stuff that was passed down from generation to generation that they're breaking through. Some things that they're yelling, that they're telling everybody that they're going through, that society is acting like it's nothing. Like you hear it in their music. And I appreciate their resilience, their ability to fight through it, their ability to say, I'm important, I exist, and to break through some of these, for lack of better words, some of this bullshit, man. Like there's so much stuff that as adults, we kind of just be like we don't really understand. We think, oh, well, you guys can get through it. We got through it. When it's like, no, it's compounded. Like, I'm not just dealing with, you know, the current climate. I'm dealing with y'all stuff too that y'all passed down. And so, but I want them to know that they're supported above anything. So that's why I like to just listen. One of my key things that I told both the community center, the church, the organizations that we're connected with, I told everybody, I was like, I'm not censoring their music. I'm not. I don't care what they say on that microphone. They need to say it. Like outside of it, when we walk inside that room and we all talking, it's like, okay, everybody kind of chill. You know, let's just know who's in the room type of thing. But one, I know they didn't make up these words. They existed far before they came through. Two, they need that space to let it out, because sometimes saying I'm going through some stuff doesn't sound the same as I'm going through some shit. Like sometimes you got to call it and say it what it is, and then after that, once you express yourself, you feel better because you're able to say your truth and not give this fake version of it. So I'm adamant about them saying that, because then we can have those discussions. Like I can find out about what you're dealing with, and me and you can talk about it. And if you want help, sometimes you're like, you know what, I'm good. I'm all right. But if not, you might want to be like, you know what, I've never actually talked to anybody out loud about this. So let's do it. And since as a mentor, it's like one of the most trusted spaces to have. I appreciate the fact that they do open up to us and talk about those things that we might pick up on record.
It's interesting though. I mean, I see so many artists who get caught up in the yardstick of their success is external wealth. You know, so people are fronting this. You know, so to get people to be vulnerable, that's magical stuff.
Oh man, it took me a while to get there. Somebody had to break me in order for me to fully understand it. And I've been in that same space where I challenge them in certain ways. Well, we'll talk, and we'll have these spaces where I would just see where their minds are and just really push them, and you know, just be like, and ask the right questions that kind of unlock that, you know. And there's been so many of them who cried for the first time, you know, like young men who I know who've been like tough street guys. And when we'll sit down and talk, we'll tap into some of that stuff and be like, yo, it's all right to feel how you feel. Like you're justified in that. I feel the same way, you know. And they need safe spaces, man. Like people need safe spaces just to voice what's going on, because if not, it gets pent up, and then that frustration gets taken out on the world. So if anything, I'd much rather them have a space to vent and say that, whether it's on a microphone, behind a beat, in a freestyle cipher, or just to a mentor, or even to their peers. I just want them to have that space to know that you can say how you feel and it's okay, because people are going to be here for you.
Wow. And just so you know, your mentees being on stage with us last year. I mean, Leslie, a singer, she's in Scotland right now. She's been very successful. She said, please, can we do that again? Please, 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 can we do that again? Favorite moments. And so these bridges are being built, you know. And it's weird, isn't it? Because we're also at a time when music is this just throwaway. You don't even, well, unless it's a Taylor Swift album or your album, buy it on vinyl, which I strongly suggest. But music is this transitory thing, and feels like there are times when music gets dismissed. But here we are, where music is saving people. It's a battering ram to move things forwards. It's really, and I think I'd forgotten that, you know, as well. It's important. It's important.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Especially now, you know, there's been so many times and so many people who I've connected with just off music, you know, like, I mean, you could look at it even in the sense of like concerts or, you know, parties or whatever. Like you could be in a room full of strangers and then the song come on that everybody loves. And next, you know, that room feels different. It feels like you could just sing the song next to somebody who you don't even know, and y'all are singing it together like y'all friends. Like that's the power of music. Like it's so like, it's easily the best thing that we have going for us, man. The connected tissue that we all have, we all love it. Can't picture a life without it. And so the fact that, you know, when you guys have that experience of like the mentees being on stage, like they talk about that to me all the time. Like they be like, man, I could look out into the crowd and there was so many people, and then I'm looking behind me and there's so many different people who are playing music and we're just like jamming and having fun, and it's freedom, you know. Like there's nothing like that feeling, man. So man, it's the best tool that we got, man. I can't speak enough about it.
So I want to mention a couple of things. Behind me is a Add-2 Jim Crow the musical shirt. What are we dropping?
Like I was gonna say, there's so many people hitting me up about it. Once they say it, they was like, "Yo, fam, I need one. But we definitely wanted to give some out. There was a bunch of people who had participated in
on your Instagram.
Yeah, and I know they were sending some to y'all's too. They were doing both, and I was like, all right, this is dope. I like it. So I picked like one from each shirt size, and so we should be able to give.
Okay, so we could do that afterwards. And I know I saw somebody was like a 4X.
Yeah, I did see that.
I've got some 4X in the back. Not obviously let's give the 4X person a shirt. Right?
Boy, yeah, they get theirs off top. So yeah, okay, that's dope because I didn't know what to do with it.
And then do we have a link for people to donate to the Haven? Would that be a good thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who wants to donate to Haven, we're more than welcome to that. Every little bit counts. We're always trying to either upgrade gear, or we do like little things when we go out into different places. We went to Starved Rock like maybe last month. And so we love to do stuff like that, where we go like outward bound trips, as we call them. So stuff we can go out to do different things that may not necessarily be just music related, that changes people's perspective. But yeah, all of that stuff counts. Every little bit counts. People who volunteer their time always helps. If you be like, man, I can mix a project for somebody, it's like, man, that goes a long way too. So or like, yo, I got some plugins. If you're like, oh, that works too. So anything that you can do to help pay it forward.
Okay. Molly put the link in the chat, and then we're going to come. Either I'm going to come there, or you're going to come up here, and we'll do a glow in the dark, scratch and sniff, screen printing workshop.
Yes.
We've got to print some shirts for Day. Get that going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's some chat. I want to look at the chat really quick. See if there's any questions. I have a question about just about when you're in the studio. It seems like from when you started to record till now, Secret Life of Blacks, the trombone.
Yeah.
Is that sampled, or is somebody playing?
Oh, that's this young guy named Teo. He goes by Teo the artist, and he used to be a part of. I met him at a youth Grammy event. Like it was like Grammy U or something like that, and he was performing with a band, and he was like 17 years old, and I was like, yo, where did you come from, man? And he's a amazing artist. And I hit him up. I was like, it's like, bruh, I don't know if this is possible, but can you play some horns over this? And he walks in, he's like, yeah, I got you. He's like, yeah, just give me a couple takes, does a couple runs, and he starts finding this pocket. And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. That made the song for me. So yeah, shout out to him. He's working on some new music too. And he's super dope, super talented, great arranger, producer, artist, band director. Like, I can't speak enough about that
guy. Wow. So yeah, I'd love all this piano licks all through this stuff. It just makes it hooky as hell, you know. It's lay back, sit in the bathtub, and let me hit you with these messages.
It's real chill. It's really like super chill. laid back, like it's just a vibe, you know what I'm saying? So I love that. I love the juxtaposition of it too, because it's like it's jazzy and mellow, and some of the stuff is kind of heavy. And so you never quite know. It's like, oh, it's funny. Then it's like, oh, wait, it's heavy. No, wait, it's funny again. And so we like to float in between those areas.
You know, I found this quote, and it made me think of you actually. Desmond Tutu.
Okay. Yep.
There comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for doing that.
Man, that's the way to live. It's like we could complain about the problem, or we could do something about the problem. Mm-hmm. And so making music about it is cool, but if I'm not doing any action, then I'm only profiting off of the pain. You know what I'm saying? So, and I can't do that. I got to be in the field. I got to be on the front lines. I got to work. So, and
your mentees, you know, I follow Cam, Just Chris, Jay Lamar, and Day, and I'll go and check out, you know, Day's Instagram, and it's not like, here's my new single. She's like, hey, pull up. We got diapers in the car. Who needs what? Yeah. And it's spreading. It's great.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I could, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm glad when people give me credit for it. Like, it's cool, but they deserve all the credit for it. Like, I'm just a very small piece in their journey. They have these ideas. They bring them up to me all the time, but they be like, hey, how about we do a food drive? Hey, how about we do this? And I'm like, let's do it. Like, I'm glad that they feel so moved to do these things. And that's a reflection on their families. That's a reflection of their friends. That's a reflection of them. Like, they are great alone. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what happens, like, they are great by themselves. So I appreciate it. And anytime I see them do that stuff, it just gives me a warm feeling, man. So and I see these other two comments in the chat. I don't want to make sure I skip over it. They said, what projects are giving me hope right now? I like the new Nas album. I've listened to the new Nas album. I really, really love that. I always been a big Crit fan. I love that. I listen to a lot of old school R&B. So those anytime and Yeba's song Distance is the most amazing song I've heard in a very long time. And then I seen the other question was saying, can I see a positive end to this pandemic situation or everything that's going on? Eventually. So like there's a piece of me that's like an anarchist. All right, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like there's a piece of it that says some of this stuff needed to happen. Some of the chaos needed to happen because sometimes I've seen Tupac say that he's like, man, you can start with like somebody's like begging for food, like, you know, please can you help us? Please can you help us? And then people be like, let it go. Then you banging at the door like, hey, we need some food, help us now. And then people may not take it serious, but then until you kick down the door, then people are like, oh, let's change this up. Let's give you what you needed. And so it needs to happen because for just to be flat out with it, police should not be killing people. Like, they're not judge, jury, and executioner. If the rules are, and what we're facing is just like, you get arrested and tried, yes, I'm absolutely for it. If you committed a crime, you should go to jail for it. You should be judged for it. But there's no reason why you should be killed for any, like it just doesn't add up to me. And as somebody who grew up in that neighborhood where they did a lot of stuff like that, like my first interactions with police have always been negative. They used to throw our rims down in the alley. They used to pat us down because they thought we were moving crack for the older drug dealers. And then also they raided my house when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and they threatened to kill my little brother and my mom. And they had the wrong house. And it's been like this. So for me, I know that there's a time where it's like, there's going to be anger, there's going to be frustration, there's going to be people fighting, there's going to be people who are going to want to raise their point and raise their voices. It needs to happen. And then the thing is, all this goes away if you don't kill people. Like that's the simple part. Don't shoot and kill people. Then you don't have any of this. So that's what I think is like, until people realize that it's a human problem. Like, we're all going through this right now. It's not just a Black problem. Like, it's happening to us as Black people, but it's not just a Black problem, because eventually it won't be just a Black problem. Eventually it'll be everybody's problem. And so we do have to just really focus on that, man. Treat people like people. Give everybody a chance, man, and just we in this together, because we got bigger issues, man. Like, we just trying to survive 2020. Like, let's make it.
Well, you know, you have people on this end and lots of people on this call who are here to listen and help in any way we can, you know. You know, people say a lot like, oh, I get it. You know, I've been through a lot. I'm not sure. How can I get it? All I can do is listen and try and fucking help, you know.
Yeah, every little bit counts, man. Every little bit counts. And so, like, we don't have to tackle this mountain in one day, you know?
Right. Well, I want to thank you for doing this, Ad. It's been really great. I hope that when the pandemic is over, you'll come down to the school in Decatur, Illinois, and talk to everybody down there.
Yes.
I think there's a university that would be very appreciative, but I think there's a city that could use it as well, surrounding the university. And I'd love to put that event together.
Absolutely.
When
I love
this is over. And we'll come down and you bring your mentees up here, and we'll get some Red Bulls in and some pizza, and we'll print some shit.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I need that. They're gonna be hyped up about this.
Good deal. Well, thanks again, Ad. The link to donate to the Haven is in the chat. We'll actually send it out to everybody that was on the call. We'll do a blast and send that link out. Thanks to Molly for facilitating all of this.
Hey, shout out to Molly.
And thanks to all any Millikan students who are on the call, and anybody else. Was somebody here from New Zealand?
Yeah, Jed was on.
Jed was on. Yeah, we had somebody from New Zealand.
Hey, what's up, man? That's
so
good.
It's pretty damn good. Good deal. All right, thanks a lot, Ad, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon, and we'll work out this whole thing with the t-shirts.
All right, let's go. Indeed, thank y'all. Appreciate it, man. Much love, y'all. Take care.
Thank you.